Right, let's get to Manchester United now, because Rúben Amorim's side travelled to Brentford today after another successful night in Europe midweek. How impressed were you with them? Because it was a good performance against the best defence in La Liga, Athletic Bilbao. And this is a great stat, only unbeaten side in European competition this season, Manchester United.
Yeah.
Who would have thought it?
Well, I mean, you talk about the kind of disparity between a domestic campaign and European. But like, it actually went beyond that, I think, because that was their performance of the season.
Yeah.
And I think one of those as well, I mean, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. They've still got issues, they've got recruitment. But it is one of those where you can start to pin it to, as kind of like, this is a statement performance from Amorim in terms of what they're about, what they want. And also, under pressure, going to Bilbao, there's all this, like, in Bilbao, there's always all this emotional momentum.
Yeah, you know it well, don't you?
Well, yeah, my mother's from near the area. I always fly in, but there's been this emotional momentum about getting to the final, because obviously it's in the same stadium.
Yes.
And United just rendered all that irrelevant. They kind of steamrolled it. It could have been worse than 3-0 for Bilbao, and it was it was a performance of real impressive conviction, especially given how easy it would be at the moment for Manchester United to kind of just slip into doubt. Something goes wrong, and it's like you can see everything spiralling. Instead, there was just this certainty about it, and this assurance.
Yeah, it was very impressive. They didn't go on, as Miguel mentions, they didn't go on to get that fourth in the second half. Was that the only negative from... Or
that wasn't a negative.
Have they done
for
enough?
Me. That wasn't a negative for me. I think they were absolutely in control. They were ruthless when they had a man advantage. Bruno Fernandes was outstanding. It was, I think, the best performance from United so far this season. And look, I've been on here and I've pointed out various things about United, but there is not one single thing I would look at that performance and the application within that performance and suggest was a negative. I'd be very surprised now if they don't make it all the way to the final and maybe even win that competition.
Yes, I think some of us actually said they might win it last week, but I'm saying nothing. Look, it is an all or nothing.
After the event.
I did say it last week. It is all or nothing for them, after their domestic season. Potentially they could still...
Yeah.
I don't want to say it, finish 17th, I've said it out loud. So could this be career-defining, do you think, for Amorim? If they miss out on Champions League, how much damage will that do them?
I think certainly it'll be potentially defining in terms of his Manchester United career. I mean, who's to say what's to happen in the future? And clearly, he's a very good coach who has been in a difficult situation. It's interesting because they're one of 3 clubs in England now, basically. They're in this all-or-nothing situation. And we're going to get onto it later with Arsenal as well. That suddenly... like the domestic form, it feels like it doesn't matter because it's all about Europe. And certainly, look, I mean, it's been every time, say at the Lyon game in the last round, when suddenly it went to 4-2 Lyon, and there's always that cut to the Manchester United, how to put it, the hierarchy, I suppose, and they suddenly glum faces, which really, you couldn't have a greater visualisation of just what is at stake here in terms of the near future. I mean, this is about more than the kind of the glory of the Europa League. It's about almost what Amorim can do for the next year or two. And I have actually noticed how, in a lot of the kind of club media at the moment, they've done this documentary saying the 1991 Cup Winners' Cup, where Ferguson's first European trophy at the club, and it does feel there's like maybe it's unintentional, but there's a lot of conscious echoes about, what that did for the club at the time, what they can potentially do now.
Wow.
But yeah, I think it will. It does feel so important as regards as much as anything because of almost the confidence in the place.
I think everything is falling in United's favour at the moment. Bilbao's away record isn't very good. I think they've had 1 win in their last 9. What they do have to be mindful of is their star striker Sunset. He scored 15 goals this season. Wasn't playing in the first leg because he was injured, likely to come back for the second leg. But as you've been saying, in the short and medium term, as far as United are concerned, and we will talk about this with Arsenal, this is era-defining. Because if they were to get into the Champions League, that would help massively in terms of the calibre of player that can attract to the club.
But as much as anything, it'd be the difference in financial outlook for PSR, headroom for and it is sad that we're on a football show and we're talking about issues like that and how that's more important than the actual glory of winning a European trophy. But this is the modern game now.
And it is a very fair point. We've spoken many times over the last few weeks where that question was asked, for example, about Forest when they had the opportunity to either win the FA Cup or get into the Champions League. And some ex-pros were very open about the fact that getting into the Champions League for them was preferable than the reason you play football, which is to win a silverware, to win titles. But the bottom line is that what clubs want to do is move to the next level and to be able to attract those players who, in many cases, say, are you in Europe? Are you in the Champions League? that's so important in many cases. And for Manchester United, listen, Sir Jim Ratcliffe spoke to Gary, set out his long-term ambitions and his short-term ambitions as well. And lots of people have, maybe been looking sideways at Manchester United. But if they were to win this competition, that silverware ticked off, get into the Champions League, they have the last laugh.
You mentioned the fact that PSG have got a key player coming back. It was great to see Amad
You mean
Diallo.
Bilbao?
PSG, Bilbao, thank you. Bilbao having players coming back. It was great to see Amad Diallo coming back. He had a cameo role, didn't he, in this one? But at least when he went off the pitch, arguably he was their best player.
Again,
they missed him. Yeah, so it's great to have him back for this one.
Yeah, and there has been a bit of a discussion over the past 2-3 months that United have become a bit toothless in attack. It's undeniably true, but that's obviously coincided with the loss of this player who had been, for maybe the first part of Amorim's spell, it's kind of the one revelation, the bright light about it, and scored so many goals in such a period. And yeah, he really does give them something different.
Yeah.
9 goals and 8 assists before the ankle injury.
Wow.
And listen, he's a quick player, but he's got game intelligence. He makes the right decisions in the right moments. He's got composure in front of goal, and he has electrified the place whenever he has played. It's going to be a lot to ask him to start.
What I really like about him as well is his aggression. This is a discussion that's actually come up a lot this season, kind of the way the modern game goes, how controlled it can be, and even there's this talk about whether players become too robotic. Whereas Amad is someone who just sees an opening and really goes for it. And it is quite refreshing.
I had a stat. They are the 134th team to win the first leg of a UEFA Cup or Europa League knockout tie by 3 or more goals. All 133 progressed. So there's the stat for them. And no pressure, of course, Manchester United. But actually, saying that, it is quite nice to see, if you are kind of a neutral in this, that our British teams are doing really well in Europe at the moment. Actually, we're dominating the lower tiers, certainly, in terms of going forward.
Just before you move on from that, that's another key point. When you ask me about Liverpool and how big an achievement it is for Liverpool to win this league, when you look at the teams that are finishing behind Liverpool, Aston Villa going deep into the Champions League, 4 teams in the semi-finals of the second and third tier competitions, 3 of them with a real serious chance of winning the whole thing.
Yeah.
It tells you just how dominant Liverpool have been and how dominant this league is. A lot of people talk it down, but this is the most competitive league in world football. Lots of the players who can't get into the top teams in this country walk into teams on the continent and are key players at those clubs as well.
Yeah, you make an interesting point. If either Spurs or United win the Europa League, it means we potentially have 6 Premier League teams in the Champions League.
I'll let you deal with that one.
That is something I don't like after that. That's
Okay.
not from the sense of just anything to do with the English football. It just seems a bit absurd for one country, any country, to have so many teams in this European competition. And we're talking about more than a quarter, almost a third of the division, which is remarkable. But and that is related to kind of, I suppose, bigger factors for why English football is doing so well in Europe. And one is actually the long-term strength of the Premier League, which has been it's been translated into these mega international broadcasting deals. I mean, the big one was in 2013 when it broke 5 billion for the first time around the world. And from that, we're in a situation now where the Premier League collectively can pay 2 billion more in wages than any other league in the world, even more than the Liga, which has been for so long, had Messi, Ronaldo, was kind of seen as the League of Stars. And for all people might think that's just numbers. Well, what do those numbers translate to? If you can pay more wages, you can pay for the best players. Yeah. And hence there's this concentration of talent in English football.
Manchester United's emphatic 3-0 win over Athletic Club in the first leg of their Europa League semi-final has sparked widespread praise and debate, with the Independent's Miguel Delaney and the Mirror's Darren Lewis sharing their expert insights on the Red Devils' performance and prospects. Speaking after the match, Delaney highlighted the tactical brilliance of Rúben Amorim, crediting the Portuguese manager's setup for neutralizing Bilbao's early aggression and exploiting their defensive weaknesses. He praised Bruno Fernandes for his leadership and sharp finishing, especially his clinical brace, which put United firmly in control of the tie. Lewis, meanwhile, focused on United's resilience and the importance of Casemiro's opener, which shifted the momentum. He also noted the pivotal red card to Dani Vivian, which left Bilbao exposed and allowed United to dominate. Both analysts agreed that, while the job isn't over yet. United's commanding lead has put them within touching distance of the Europa League final, where a potential showdown with Tottenham could await.